Hello, my gorgeous lot. It's Mega Gran here again, coming to you with a brand new series from VintageBeef's Omega Minecraft servers. And what we're doing here, you might ask yourselves? Well, we're going to build a zoo. Now then, just to explain how this came about, a little while ago, Grimer celebrated reaching 3,000 subscribers with a week-long open server for anybody to go on and have a go at building a zoo. Now, if you don't know who Grimer is, there's a link in the description below. Have a look at his channel. It's awesome. And he's well on his way to 4,000 subscribers now. He's doing some awesome stuff. Now, you can't build a whole zoo in a week, but I thought I'll go on and have a dabble. I'll have a little go. And I so enjoyed it. I thought, I'm going to have to build a zoo. So when I found out the Omega server were working with the Zawa team and they were getting an exclusive beta for the new Zawa Evolved mod, and I thought, well, that's it. I've got to have a go. Now then, if you know anything about building a zoo in Minecraft, you'll know there's a bit of stuff that you have to do, a bit of work that you've got to start with before you can actually start building exhibits, you know, like punching wood, gearing up, finding somewhere to settle and collecting resources. Well, that's what I've been doing since the 1st of March, which is when the zoo server opened. So this video is one of 2 videos that'll show you sort of like a catch-up, and then each video will come out on a Friday and I'll be showing you what I've been getting up to during that week. I should be naming names, I should be asking questions, I should be taking advice, and I hope for your feedback. So this is how things have been going for the past couple of weeks. There was such a buzz of excitement waiting for this portal to open, and then when it did, people could not get through it fast enough. So this was my first time on one of the Omega Minecraft servers, and I had no clue what to expect. So I must say I went through this portal with a bit of trepidation, and I must say I'm glad Rascal was with me. Rascal and Smurf will be on and off during this series. So there we were at the zoo server spawn, which was looking super cool. There was lots of business about it, lots of places to go, and we'd have to have a look at that a bit later. But right now we were more concerned with where we were supposed to go. We'd got a starter kit, which is why we were all in leather armour, and we got some stone tools, some starter food, and we got a compass, which was a menu. And we'll find out about that a little bit later. And some of those who had played on the server before and bought themselves ranks, they retained their perks from there. So some of that included creative flight and things like that were probably quite helpful when building a zoo. And then we were off on our way to the overworld. We just followed everybody else. They all seemed to know where they were going. I love this starting of things. What an adventure. Oh, and the spawn area, the buildings. Look at that up there. And Tinnakin was on the last server, and she built a gorgeous zoo. And I think you'll be able to have a look at that very soon on her channel. So off we went. We're obviously going in the right direction because everybody was going in this direction. I almost wish I'd have actually done myself a different skin. You know, sort of like a zookeeper's outfit or something. Oh, it was so exciting. Oh, and everybody was disappearing, so any second now, so would I. And there you go. And of course, it's night time. But on here, all the passive and the hostile mobs spawn in the warp spawner worlds, so you have to warp there to actually find them. On this world, you get some passive mobs. You can't breed them, though. And you get some hostile mobs. But the only hostile mobs you get are witches, zombie villagers, pillagers, ravagers, vindicators, evokers and vexers. And I think those last few would be around a village raid, because they don't just spontaneously spawn everywhere. So here we are, and getting wood is our first priority. We need some of that wood. And of course, with our starter kits, we didn't have to punch wood. We could chop wood with our chopper. One of the mods that's on here is the MMO mod, but unlike on Crips and Critters, if you remember what it was like on there, these level up fairly swiftly. And there you go, just on cue. And we'll be seeing the perks that we get from that as we play through the game. Now, we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is in beta. Therefore, there might be some bugs that we have to work through, and there might be some things that happen like they're not supposed to. But the staff were on hand to sort things out, and they were on the ball. So off we went, me and Rascal, to find somewhere that we could call a base. And we kept our eye out to see if we could see any of the zoo animals. They weren't as many as in the full pack because a lot of them were being worked on and upgraded. So that would be fantastic when they could be added, and they'll be added as they become available. Oh, a thing I haven't mentioned is that this version of Minecraft is 1.16. Now, the voice chat had so many people in it and it was so noisy that I haven't included it in this video. So Rascal and me went into our own voice chat as soon as we were able and asked for meeting the natives.
What are you?
Oh, it's a scorpion. Be careful. That's a parrot. There's a scorpion there. It's coming after you.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, what is it? What is it? It's a spider.
How do I pick it up? How did they pick things up?
Don't you have to have a net? You have to have a net to pick small things up. I've lost you. Oh, there's a zombie villager behind you.
No way.
That's it. So we eventually found an area that looked quite okay. So I made a little bit of a claim so I could put down some chests. And you're strongly advised by the staff to make sure you claim anywhere where you've got any of your stuff to keep them safe. And one of the first things I like to do once I've got somewhere that I can call home is to get down into the mines. I'd already come a cropper, which caused me to fall down from the sky, but that was sorted out really quickly. And then, of course, I couldn't get back to my stuff, so I had to make all new tools, which were just wooden ones. So I was quite happy to get back to some, at least, stone ones. And not forgetting that all-important weapon, the sword. And no sooner had I got that made, I needed to use it. I could hear his dulcet tones coming up behind me. There he was. And it didn't take me long, once we'd played a ring-a-ring-a-rosy a little bit around my chest, my crafting table and my bed, to get the better of him. And just a few swift whacks later, he was no more, thankfully. And with just a sewn sword, that might have turned out quite different. Good job it's on normal difficulty. And then I found my first lot of coal. How welcome that was. Light at last. Now time for some proper mining. And before I knew it, I had more than enough for a full set of iron armour. Lovely jubbly. So now I needed to head down and see if I could get somewhere much lower. Try and find some of that blue sparkly stuff. Hey up, there's a witch somewhere. I shall have to keep my eyes open. So, I need some blocks on my bar. It's no good with iron, is it? So blocks on the hotbar, down I went. And it wasn't too long before I got very excited because that looked like a mine shaft. And a mine shaft is very good in this game because you need a lot of string. You need a lot of string to make lots of nets. You need lots of nets to catch lots of stuff. So I duly marked it and in I went with some trepidation because it wasn't too long before I was hearing those shrill cries of spiders. So in I went with my eyes and ears open because that noise was getting louder. I couldn't see any just yet. I was determined to get at least 6 string so I could make a couple of bows. Was that the same witch or was that a different one? I had no idea and it was getting very scary. But I was determined to get some more string. So I took a deep breath and I carried on and went in deeper. I could see some cobwebs up there, but that was a bit much. To try and reach it, I could see a cobweb down here, so got that one. Then I went back. If I could just get another one. Could I get another one? I felt I was pushing my luck. I saw that one. It was so close. I needed to get it. I got it. I turned round and I ran. That was it for me. I'd had enough. I needed to go, get out, get up, get safe. So I did. So I thought I'd put a little lid on my mining hole with a little door on it. And I'd already got a couple of chests full of rubbish. Well, it wasn't rubbish really. It's all I'd collected so far. A bit of farming stuff. A few blocks. Bit of wood. Well, it was a start. You've got to start somewhere, haven't you? What I needed to do was get it underground where I was going to have a base. I think that would have been the best option. And I think I'll build it just down there. And it wasn't long before I had my first visitor. Tinnican came to say hello. And it looked like she'd not long since been to the spawners, because she brought me a little present of 4 shulker shells. Awesome. There'd be essential with no backpacks in the pack now. There were the crate warps you could go to, and those were to redeem your keys. The overworld, that was obviously for coming back from somewhere. There were the spawners. I'd have to go and have a look at those. I'm not sure what the staff one was. I'll have to ask about that. Haven't heard anybody mention it. There was the resource world, of course, and shops. So I went to shops to see what was what, but there wasn't anything much here yet, but it hadn't been opened long. So, welcome to the shopping district. We hope you enjoy your visit. To add a shop, simply claim an area no bigger than 16 by 16. Players are allowed a maximum of 2 shops each. Please keep at least a 3-block space between builds. Then there was the crates. Now, there's a few different crates here, but the one I was interested at the moment was the vote crate, because I had 2 vote keys from voting. So what you got for your vote keys was very, very random, and it popped out so quick I couldn't actually see what it was. I think it was herbivore kibble, and when I had a look, it was confirmed, herbivore kibble. I also got 1 diamond for each vote as well. So then I had a look at the resource world, and I understood that this was for getting large quantities of resources, and you could get some animals here as well, so that was pretty cool. And then to the passive mob spawners, and I could spend a little time here actually collecting some food, because there were different spawners in each area for different things. And as far as I could tell, you just stood around in the vicinity and they would spawn every few seconds. So that was quite cool as well. And there were areas spawning all the passive mobs in the game. So I went about getting a bit of everything. Now with my second 2 diamonds, I made a diamond pick and got some obsidian because I was getting ready to go to the nether. But of course, not by myself. And it wasn't long before I could go in with Rascal and Smoth. Oh my goodness me, what's this?
It's not very inviting.
Wow! This is the magma wastes. Oh, this'll be the biomes you'll go, won't it? Well, that was a bit of a shock. I did not expect it to be so hostile of an environment. All I wanted was a bit of soul sand, and there was none to be seen anywhere. So after a tiny little bit of exploration, we gave that up as a bad job. And instead we warped off to the hostile mob spawners, and we could actually determine when we were going to interact with each of the mobs, so that was quite cool. But I can't say I was a fan of the shulker spawning area. Just like the other areas, shulkers spawned when you were in the vicinity, and there was quite a high ceiling. So once one of the balls caught you, that was it, you were floating away, and with no potions or feather falling on my boots. It was quite frightening finding myself stuck to the ceiling alongside Rascal. So I decided that if I could get down from here and had still lived, that I wasn't coming back anytime soon. So we tried our hand at getting some string. This was a little bit more manageable, but my shield kept disappearing out of my inventory, so I wasn't really prepared for these either, but at least they weren't the poisonous sort. And then we had a look at the creeper spawners. Now this was an odd thing, because when they exploded, they didn't cause any damage to either us or the environment. But of course you needed to kill them before they exploded, otherwise you wouldn't get the gunpowder. And that was quite important if we were going to be using elytras. And the mobs were no less dangerous than they were if they were spawning in the overworld. But here you couldn't actually manipulate the environment to make it any safer for you. So it was a bit dicey coming down here. Back home, I was getting quite fed up of getting soggy while sorting out my chests and looking at all my stuff. It was time to get sorted with a base. And after a mass massacre at the spawners, I was able to put up an enchanting setup. And it felt quite good to be inside and sorting out all our stuff. We'd need much more than this though. There are so many blocks in this game, and we'll be collecting most of them for our exhibits. I fancied giving it a sort of a basement feel down below, and I think I needed some oak for that. I also had a little bit of birch. I like using a little bit of birch for the ceilings. And there was no control over these trees in all the biomes you go. They were massive, but they gave you a lot of wood at least, and increased my levels no end. Well, it was time to try my luck in the enchantment table. Only I hadn't noticed there was a torch stuck on one of the bookshelves, so I didn't quite get a 28 level enchant. But I got a silk touch pick, so I could have an ender chest, which would be great for carrying around all that stuff. And it had unbreaking, which wasn't too shabby. And I think I had extra obsidian, so I went mining intermittently, as you do, hoping for something really good. And it wasn't that long before I found my first spawner. And it took me a little bit of time to actually find it. Even though I had the journey map, it still took me a while. What am I like? And then I found it, the telltale mouldy cobblestone. So I chipped away round the outside of it until I got a little bit higher up, and then I poked my head in. Well, not literally. So I got a torch in there, which placed very nicely on top of the spawner, and there was just one skelly in there, so that was quite good. And he obligingly came across so I could stick an arrow in his head, and off I was in. Not much in there, but there was some string, so that was not bad. And melons, that's not bad too. Bit more string, a name tag, nice. But it wasn't very long before I was thinking about villagers and about having a whole set of librarians with each of the enchanted books for next to nothing. A cage is what I needed to catch them in a cage, and this was it. It was quite expensive, it took quite a lot of iron to make, but apparently you just shoved them in. So I went over to the resource world to see if I could shove them in. I did it. My thoughts kept going back to the nether, and I thought if I dug up to underneath the nether ceiling and dug along, maybe I could get to a different biome and find the all-important soul sand. So I tried it, and I dug, and I dug, and I dug, in the 4 cardinal directions. I did find a quartz desert, and when I eventually found my way to a cavern, it was full of raw quartz blocks and quartz crystals. Some of them were hanging from the ceiling. It was pure white everywhere. It was absolutely gorgeous, and there were bone blocks as well. So I had to get a little bit of everything, so we had samples. And the trailing things from the ceiling broke as bones or what looked like little sections of lace. A little bit further on I found a withering woods, which was like a forest that was all withering. I can't say it was very pretty, but I went down to take some samples anyway so that we had them. I mean, you just never know when you want a certain type of block, so I wanted to have a bit of everything. And there were so many different types of flowers to get as well that would all come in useful, I'm sure. I had dug a long way, and I still hadn't found a soul sand valley or a fortress. So here one other thing came in useful, and that was being able to TP to somebody. So thank you very much, JVM29. I really appreciated that because I was getting near the end of my tether. I'd done so much digging. So there I was at last in a fortress, and right at the bottom of the stairs was netherwort and some soul sand. Awesome. It looked like it'd just been planted, so I ran around a bit, waiting for it to grow, and I was very surprised to find that the chest hadn't been looted. So thank you very much, I don't mind if I do. And thank you very much for the diamond armour and another saddle in the next chest. That was very nice, thank you. And then I spotted some glowstone, and I thought, yes, I'll have to have a bit of that as well. But I needed to be very careful because it was precariously balanced on the edge of the fortress. So I carefully placed some blocks, and very carefully, got some more. Just a little bit further. Just a little bit further. No, I didn't fall off. Not on that occasion. So I did quite well. So the netherwort had grown a little bit when I got back to it. Enough for me to take some and to leave some. I don't think anybody would have noticed if I took the whole lot, but they might have done, so I daren't. Got some from the other side as well, and thought I'd have a look and see if I could find some soul sand outside. So I peeked my head over the edge of the fortress. Couldn't see anything immediately except some hostiles that were out to get me. So I hastily retreated, and then I spotted a blaze down a corridor, and I thought that looks fairly safe. I'll have him. So I trotted down with my shield up and smashed his face in, and he very politely gave me his blaze rod, which was very nice. So I felt home calling me, so I went back to get a few more bits of netherwort for a second patch that I'd found, and thought it wouldn't be too bad if I just took a couple of pieces of soul sand just to grow the netherwort on, because there were 4 patches here now. I know I should have taken a whole patch. Why not? I mean, you know, if I didn't, somebody else would. But no, I'm kind that way, you see. So I replanted, and then I took these end 2 pieces just so I could grow some. What am I like? So, how much luck am I going to have this time with these vote crate keys? Oh dear, some more kibble. This time some omnivore kibble and some herbivore kibble. Kibble, kibble, kibble. Oh dear. I was soon making some weakness potion, and I'd planned to catch some zombie villagers and purifying them in the hope of getting some very cheap enchants. We'd see how that went. Rascal found something very interesting about jobs. You could have 2 at any one time and they gave you rewards, and the jobs were things you were doing anyway. So looking at my statistics and then at the job tree, I could see that the miner job that I'd selected gave me quite a few levels. I was at level 12, and you could click on the levels that you'd attained and you would get rewards, and I thought that was quite interesting. So if I clicked on level 2, I got $20 reward, and level 3, $30. With some of them I got some items, like level 6 I got an iron pickaxe. I thought that was quite cool. I mean, you were doing this stuff anyway, but you were getting extra rewards on top of it. And I couldn't believe it when we looked in the Explorer menu. On level 15 you got an elytra. Now then, after a week or so of running up and down these stairs, I'd had enough. It was time to have something a little bit better, so I set to work to build a cosy little cottage, the type I like to build. and a bit of greenery brings it all together. So that's it for part 1 of this episode. Part 2 will be in the regular spot for this series, and that'll be on a Friday. So I'll see you then. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, because it really supports my channel. So take care everybody.